Morning, everyone. I hope you're hearing me loud and clear, and thank you for joining me in my hotel room in the Philippines. Today we're going to talk about funding. It's a very interesting topic because Microsoft have done quite a lot to make funding a lot more accessible to a much broader audience, and I'm going to help you understand how that works and what the opportunities available to you are. So we'll briefly introduce Cloud Direct and myself. I'll explain some of the resources that are available and how you might adopt the different funding mechanisms. What I encourage you to do, if you've got any questions, get them in early. Beth, who's moderating this call, she'll be able to read out the questions to me. So if you do have any specific questions, feel free to ask. The other thing that I offer is discrete one-to-ones where you can bring your specific business context and we can go and explore that. So if that's something you're interested in, again, reach out to us and we can explore your specific use case. So a little bit about me. My name is Leon Godwin. I am the Principal Cloud Evangelist at Cloud Direct. I work as an advocate for you. I do not work in sales. I will never try to sell you anything. I definitely don't get commission. But largely what I do is I've built it and broke it in every cloud. I've got a vast amount of cloud experience. And so my role is to work with colleagues, customers and prospects to help them on their cloud journey. I take your insights that you give me and I do feed that back into the other departments within Cloud Direct to make sure our products are top notch. And I am quite prolific on LinkedIn, for example. And so one of my favorite subjects is artificial intelligence. So I produce quite a lot of information and on LinkedIn. So my URL is there. Feel free to follow me. Yeah, I tend to be the face of the company. I tend to do quite a lot of the events, webinars, podcasts on stage and what have you. So enough about me. Why does this funding activity even exist? It's because adjusting and moving, whether it's adopting the cloud or moving further up the cloud stack, it's challenging and can be complicated. And organizations don't necessarily have the in-house skills to be able to deliver business change in the cloud, whether it's moving to the cloud or moving up the cloud. So you need to understand whether you're planning to migrate to the cloud or you're looking to improve your existing cloud security posture or a combination of both, whether you just need some help putting together that business case for the cloud, whether you're looking to support a more dynamic remote work, which is very much the new paradigm, as evidenced from me in the Philippines at the moment, or you're looking to, you're already in the cloud and you're looking to optimize your costs further. Whatever your imperative is, these things can be complicated to solve. And so Microsoft have put together a program and we deliver those programs on your behalf because we follow a specific model for these changes. So in terms of Cloud Direct, there are only a handful of expert MSPs within the UK, of which we are one of them. We're multi-award winning. We have secured more funding than anyone else in the UK for our customers when it comes to accessing this funding pot. We work very, very closely with Microsoft. I'm on a first name basis with several dozen, as are a lot of my colleagues. And we're very much, one of the things that sort of differentiates us is we use the mantra, teach, don't sell. Yes, you can come to us and we'll go and do the work for you, but we want to explain what we've done and how we've done it and why we've done it, so you're better able to be independent from us going forward. That isn't to say we do offer managed services, but in an ideal world, you'll be as agile as you can be because of the knowledge that we can impart to you, whether that be through a migration program or any other structured business change. So we have organisations in the UK and in Cape Town. We're highly certified, and we align ourselves with the what's called the well-architected framework, which is a subset of the cloud adoption framework. So we follow the best practices when it comes to delivering change within the cloud, be that migration, modernization, optimization, whatever it may be. So in terms of funding, we have the boilerplate processes. If you want to change, you want to define what that change is. So what is your strategy? Who are you going to partner with to go and deliver that change? That's something you'll do, and that's the emphasis on you to go and define that. Now, obviously, we can help with that, but that's very much being driven by yourselves. And then what application and migration and modernization, which is the Microsoft term for the funding mechanism, that largely breaks down into the plan, ready and adopt phases, where we specific activities. So discovery, what have you got? Why? And if you're going to move to the cloud, we need to understand what it is, what's appropriate to move to the cloud, what's inappropriate, what's the correct sizing for those in that target operating model. And then when you have that information and we've undertaken that assessment, discovery and assessment process, we can put together a business case which will describe the total cost of ownership. That activity, in terms of planning that activity, as well as understanding whether it be a migration plan or a modernization plan, we can put all that together under the plan banner, and we can get Microsoft to pay some or all, depending on the nature of your specific ask. Microsoft will provide the funding, and then we will deliver that planning component. And then when it comes to readying yourselves for the subsequent change, we will provide the technical skills, we'll do all the design and what have you. We will build out the landing zone. So a landing zone is, think of it, if you were building a street of houses, those houses will be very similar, but you would have scaffolding to go and build those properties. Think of a landing zone as your digital scaffolding. It's the thing that allows you to scale before you move your furniture into the property, your workload, your service. So we will help you understand the design, we will impart our knowledge, we will build out those landing zones so you're ready to adopt, and then we ultimately execute that. Under each one of those plan, ready and migrate, there are funding pools available from Microsoft, and then post that you've got to govern and manage. Now, it might be you'll do that yourselves, it might be that you'll come to us, it might be you'll go to someone else to provide a managed service to ensure the ongoing cost optimization and supportability and availability and instant response for your target platform. It's a really easy process for this. Now, the heavy lifting starts on step one, which is you have a meeting with us so we understand what it is you want to achieve. And once we've imparted the information that we need from you, we would then go and apply funding, and it's an indicative process. So we say, based on these initial conversations, having not done the discovery yet, we think that we're looking at a monthly spend of X based on this program of change. And then what we would do is, but we need information from you. That's the key thing. Is so when you book your meeting, we'd like to know the size of your estate, because that will, whether the estate is around moving from IaaS to platform as a service, or whether it's moving from on-prem into Azure, as long as we can understand the scope and the metrics, the high-level metrics of that, we can feed that into the process and submit that on day 2 to Microsoft to apply for that funding. Very quickly, Microsoft come back with funding, and there are levels of the amount of funding they make available is directly proportional to what you'll be spending. If you think about it, if you're putting skin in the game, they're going to put skin in the game. That's largely how it works. So when it comes to funding sources, it isn't just Microsoft funding, it's also Cloud Direct. We offer funding to deliver activities. Some of that is with Microsoft, some of that's on our own. So this is this next slide is where the value happens and helps you visualize the different funding pots that are available. So along the top row there, we have the different funding programs that Microsoft have. So if you're looking to move to Azure, you've got the Azure Migrate funding pool. If you're already in Azure and you're looking to optimize what you've already got there, then we can go and help with that. If you've got some maybe infrastructure as a service and you're looking to adopt function as a service, or machine learning, or data analytics, or I don't know, databases moving up to Azure SQL, to sort of database as a service. If you're looking to move up that cloud stack, that's app modernization. And again, there's funding pots there. If you're adopting DevOps, again, the funding pots are available. And likewise, the Cloud Center of Excellence. This is something quite close to my heart. This is all about you delivering excellence and having the structure in your organization to be successful in the cloud. And it's not just about technology, it's about refining, translating those business values and sharing information about the capabilities of the cloud to better deliver services to your business. It's very business aligned activity. Data and AI is a relatively new one. So Microsoft have added in about I think it's £100 million earlier on this year into a funding pot to allow organisations to be more data driven and adopt AI. AI is a subject incredibly close to my heart. I write extensively about it, and there are funding pots available there. Likewise, if you're looking to improve your security posture or adopt modern work, whether it be 365, AVD, whatever it may be, there are also funding pots available. And if you look at the key along the bottom, you can see that Microsoft are the ones in yellow. The ones in green are where we combine with Microsoft to provide the funding, and blue is where we solely provide funding. And the grey ones are our services that we can offer to you. That would be something that you would pay us for if that is something that you wanted us to do. So let's bring this to life a little bit so it actually makes a little bit more sense. So if we take the Azure migration, largely down the left-hand side, you can see you've got your one-to-one workshops. So that might be with me, one of my colleagues, and we will understand what it is you're trying to achieve. We will explain to you the principles of the well-architected framework, which is our guiding principle and is the best practice approach. I do workshops around the well-architected framework. I do roadshows around this, so you can better understand what are the key principles. But for those of you who don't know, just Google Microsoft well-architected framework. In fact, AWS has their own well-architected framework, but they all work on similar principles, which is keeping stuff performant, available, secure, cost efficient, and your ability to interact and integrate your organization to deliver operational efficiency. Then once we understand what it is your objective is, in this case migration, so you'll say, I've got 2 data centers, I want to shut down one of them and move them to the cloud. I want to shut down all my data center or my on-prem, my VMware estate is end of life, I don't want to refresh, I'm not prepared to put up with a CapEx payment for a refresh of my hardware, whatever your compelling events or compelling reasons are. You'll define the scope, and then we can deploy technology to better understand the scope of what you're doing and what your existing resources are doing. And one of the key things is you do not size for what you have, you size for what you need. Now, generally speaking, in my experience, most organizations over provision CPUs by a significant margin, and RAM by also a reasonably large margin. I think in a recent, well, not that recent, but in a piece of work I did, I discovered the average CPU utilization across a whole bunch of servers was 19%. One of the other things that's interesting about right sizing, just to go off piece for a moment, within a VMware environment, you tend to have these vCPUs that are actually a core of a CPU subdivided, so you over provision the CPU. So actually one real core might be 7 virtual cores, whereas in Azure, it's 1-to-1. So you're getting more horsepower than you might otherwise have. Equally, the technology is, generally speaking, especially people that are looking to move away, it's usually because they've sweated their assets long enough. Those assets are quite old and the technology is quite old, whereas the technology that exists with the modern processes from the EPYC line from AMD and what have you. They have just more horsepower. There's something called IPC, instructions per clock. It's basically delivering more horsepower for your money. And so I stress, you size for what you need, not what you have, and you'll find things much more cost optimal when you do. Again, within that, designing for disaster recovery, high availability, performance, and what have you, we will build that into the target operating model as part of our discovery and assessment process. Moving on, we will build out that landing zone. And I described it earlier as that digital scaffolding. It sets the security, it sets the policy, sets the access rights, it puts the networking. You might have a hub and spoke network, it might be other network designs. All those principles and controls, identity access management, federation, whatever it may be, are put into place before you move any of your workload in. Just like if you build a house, you would lock your doors, you'd make sure your windows are in place before you move your furniture in. So we would build that out for you. And then you may want to, when you deliver your workloads, undertake a proof of concept or a pilot, depending on what your specific needs are. And we will support that activity. Likewise, when it comes to scaling out into a larger model, we will undertake a design. It may be that we don't do a pilot and a proof of concept, we go straight into design. It may be that design needs to be informed by a proof of concept. But ultimately, we will produce a design document aligned to the design principles of the well-architected framework. And once we've designed that, got that signed off, we will then execute that migration. So let's bring this through to a real world example. We did a law firm recently. We went to their estate and we looked at their estate, and they had something in the region of about 160 servers. Upon analysis of those servers, about 140 of them were appropriate to move to Azure. They did have some AS400s and some other legacy systems that weren't appropriate without more complex transformation activities. So of those 140, we went to Microsoft and said, right, these 140s are going to cost X amount of money in Azure. How much funding will you provide for the cost of change? And Microsoft said £75,000. That reduced the cost of that change by 65%. You buy anything nowadays with a 65% discount, and that's pretty good. So in that scenario, that left the customer with a balance of 42k to pay to go and migrate 140 servers. That's incredible value for money. And if we take another example, we look at application modernization. Again, the structure and the format, because it adheres to a structured approach, is very similar. So we would undertake a workshop. What is it that you're looking to achieve? Again, that might be with myself or one of my colleagues, where we would understand what is your goals, what are your drivers, what are your compelling events, what are your compelling reasons, what are your technical requirements, what are your business requirements, what are your RTO, RPO requirements, whatever it may be. We will pull that information together to understand your needs of what it is you want to achieve. And we will then say, right, okay, if we are moving here, potentially we're going to retire or rehost other systems. It's called the 6 R's. That's something for another day. But effectively, we will define what the target operating, well, we will understand what the target operating model will be, but we need to undertake that discovery to understand what you've got that is looking to go through a change. So it may be something simple like, I'm paying a fortune for a whole load of Windows servers with SQL Server running on it. I want to be able to deliver more horsepower but pay less money. Okay, let's adopt Azure SQL. What's the cost of that change going to be? I've got an application. It's big. It's very expensive to go and scale. It doesn't scale vertically very well. It doesn't scale horizontally. Well, it does, but it's very expensive. Why don't we break that apart and put that into containers and maybe a web service, maybe function as a service? Again, whatever it may be. We will work with you to understand the source environment so we can design and architect to mitigate risks. Likewise, we will build out that landing zone within that modernized environment, undertake any proof of concepts, designs, and execute the deployment of that modernization as required. So once again, to bring that a little further to life, This is a piece of work we did for an organisation in the leisure industry. So to cover off the workshop and discovery activity, Microsoft volunteered $10,000 worth of funding. For us to go and build out the landing zone on behalf of this leisure customer, Microsoft gave $5,000 of funding. And to stand up the proof of concept within Azure, there was a further £15,000 worth of funding. So a decent, healthy amount of funding. What's interesting is it covered 100% of the cost. So the cost to the customer was time, not money. Moving forward, having done that proof of concept and successfully proved the concept, we then moved into the design and the deployment activity. Not only did Microsoft cover the full cost of that change, but we even negotiated on behalf of the client to agree the first month's usage was going to be free of charge. So you can see in this case, this customer got incredible value for money. They got this, they were able to use the skills of one of the market leading experts. 100% of the cost of that change was covered by funding from Microsoft, and they were able to operate their first month's free of charge through credits from Microsoft. So once again, I want you to, and if you want any of these slides, as always, I am an evangelist. If it's on my hard drive, you are more than welcome to it. But if you want to do a screen grab, I'd encourage you to do that now. This gives you an idea of just some of the funding pools that are available, and think about your organisation and the changes and the journeys that you want to go on. Which of the top line items are the ones that are aligned to your goals and values, and then understand what pools are available. So you can see that the CCOE isn't able to secure as much funding as the migration, although to be fair, the migration is a lot more resource intensive than CCOE, because that's generally speaking your resources for the most part. Okay. Now, Beth, I don't know if there are any questions that have come through. Typically not, because people are nervous.
Yes, we do actually have one question. So someone said they're looking to assess their infrastructure and possibly optimize cost. Is there funding for that?
Yes, I mean, all things being equal, we'd need to know more. So, you know, where is your environment at the moment? Is it already in Azure? What is? I'd need to know more information. But at a headline level, yes, there can be funding available. Now, obviously, there are scenarios where if you're saying I'm spending X and I want to spend Y, which is half of X, can you pay me money so I can spend less money with you? That's usually an equation that doesn't directly work out. But we, however, do provide funding. So whether it be Microsoft or whether it be us, there will be pathways available to you to cost optimize. And this is one of the things I preach a lot. Cost optimization is not a day one activity. It's an everyday activity. And we, our managed service thrives through that. So if you're interested in learning more about this, I do roadshow events where I cover off cost optimization capabilities and methodologies about how you do it. And generally speaking, organizations that do this do enjoy profound savings. I did something in a previous life for a very well-known children's global children's charity, and the first thing you're thinking of is the right answer, and they were spending 20,000, and then 18 months later they're spending 100,000 and nothing had really changed. It was purely down to, well, they ended up with 13 copies of identical data everywhere, distributed across loads of different places. Their level of resilience had gone massively overboard. They'd fundamentally misunderstood disaster recovery and backup principles, and to say it's gone beyond gold plated, and they were able to get back down to that 20,000 by configuring them and delivering the same outcomes, but far more cost optimally. So yes, the short answer is whether it's from Microsoft or us, there is likely a pathway. Obviously, the devil is in the detail. So if you want to learn more, please reach out, and we'd be more than happy to have those discussions with you to find out the best pathway forward. There's no charge for those discussions. Is there anything else, Beth?
Nope, no other questions.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time, everyone. I hope this was useful and that you understood. If you do want to reach out to me, feel free to do so. And if you want to have book a specific session on a specific subject, my colleagues can help you with that and schedule you with an appropriate expert. Thanks for your time. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.